everyone, and welcome to this episode of Geek Girl Creates. And today we are making resin runestones with the lovely Christina.
Yay.
So first off, I am Jannae, pronouns she, her, and I am part of the Twitch team here with GeekGirlCon. And Christina, why don't you introduce yourself and then also tell us what your favorite Girl Scout cookie is?
You didn't warn me about this.
I know.
No, that's fine. I have an answer. I have one.
Okay.
So I'm Christina, and pronouns are she, they, also part of Twitch team. And I believe that my favorite cookie, okay, so this is like a contentious thing because it has been Thin Mints for the longest time, but then somebody brought over these new ones that are like adventurefuls. Yes, yeah, Gazzy just mentioned it in the chat, like the adventurefuls, and they've got like the caramel. So good.
I have tried the adventurefuls, and I do like them, except I kind of wish that the brownie part was a little bit softer, like more like the edges of a brownie instead of more like a cookie. But the flavor is good.
So, yeah, I had to adjust expectations just a little bit on that front, where I was like, okay, like I had the first one, I was like, oh, it's not quite like what I expected. But then I had, like you do with Girl Scout cookies, I had like 3 more, and I was like, yeah, this is great. As a Girl Scout cookie, it was working for me.
Yeah. So, do you put your Thin Mints in the freezer?
I hadn't until like I learned about people doing that only like in the last couple of years, and I was like, oh, I guess you could do that. And so I've tried them that way, and they were good. Yeah.
Gazzy really likes the peanut butter and chocolate ones. I think those are the tag-alongs.
I think that's true. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, those are also very good. My favorite Girl Scout cookie was the Savannah Smiles. They were these like half circle lemon cookies that were dusted in powdered sugar, and they were so good. But they discontinued them like a couple of years ago, and so they replaced them with the Lemon Ups or something, which is like a shortbread cookie with a lemon glaze, which, I mean, good, but it was like, I really just like the powdered sugar ones.
That's fair. Yeah, when you get a favorite, it's really hard when they like just retire it. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
It was so amazing.
Yeah, such a bummer. But the question only came up because like I'm staring at a stack of my Girl Scout cookies, and I'm like, oh, that would be a good icebreaker question. Because yeah, I feel like a lot of people really like Samoas, and Samoas are like the Girl Scout cookie.
I think you're right. I think that's like the go-to one.
Those are also pretty good. And I'm not a big coconut person. Well, I do like those. But anyways, enough about our cookie preferences. Okay, so I will hand it off to you. What can you tell us about resin runestones?
Okay, yeah. So
what are we making?
I guess we'll start, since it's month of fantasy. We're doing this has a fantasy bent to it. It was a thing that really existed. Like the runes were an actual like symbolic system, and the ones that I have the mold for are Elder Futsark runes, and it's like the oldest form of the runic alphabets, and it was used by like the Germanic peoples, and it was used through into like Viking era. And so yeah, there's they were used in magical purposes in their time, and it got reused again by people who do like divination, modern divination practices. They use like runes and runestones, so it can be, so this is like a cool craft for either if you want to make divination tools, or if you want to make if you just think they're pretty and you like you think they're cool, or if you want to make jewelry out of them or whatever. So yeah, so I guess like the deal with these is I kind of made just a kind of basic tutorial of the making a resin craft in general, with the runestones as sort of the veneer of doing that, because a lot of the focus of the tutorial is just like, this is how, or not tutorial, but the videos I'll go through, the clips are just, this is how you do resin craft. So the runes are just sort of the fun thing at the end.
I'm looking at the picture and I really like the colors.
Yay! Yeah, I kind of was going for like, so I went for like 3 different colors because technically as part of the runic alphabet, there's like, it's separated into 3 8s, and 8s is actually like not even just 8, the number 8, but the word AETT, like it referred to like 3 different categories of the runes, and there were like Freya's 8, and they were like named for the first. They were sort of named for the first name or the first letter in each one, or for the god or goddess associated with it. So I did one for each of them, and I like the thing about this picture is that I didn't paint in the runes on this picture, but you can paint them in. And that makes them easier to read. I'm going to hold one of the ones up that's in the picture, and then like we'll see if it shows up with my very bright light. But yeah, there we go. You can kind of see like this is one of the ones, and it's kind of more fun when it's actually like dynamic and you can see all the shimmery parts.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know me and shimmers. Shimmery things.
And
very attracted to
you
it.
can add extra sparkles too.
Oh my gosh.
I have another
sparkle to taste.
Heck yeah. I have another set that is not as polished, or that I did do some painting on, that I'll just hold up for comparison, because that way you can kind of see the runes like when they're actually painted in. And this one is like a solid mica powder one that has the rune painted on in a glow-in-the-dark paint.
Oh my gosh, glow-in-the-dark paint's so fun.
Yeah, I tried. We have like a lamp set up here, and I was gonna try to like show the glow-in-the-dark effect, but I have to like steal my camera for a second and see if I can actually like show the glow-in-the-dark part at the same time as like you get to see me for a second. I don't know if the glow-in-the-dark part will work, but you can kind of see it starting to glow there.
Oh, ooh, yes. Oh my gosh. That's so fun.
Yeah. So yeah, so you can do a lot of fun things with it. Now I'll stop glowing. Very mystical.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, so I guess what we'll do is I've got basically just a playlist of photos and videos, and I'm just going to kind of walk through the steps. And feel free to like interrupt me and ask questions, and otherwise I'll just ramble.
Yeah. Okay, roll the clip.
Yeah. This might be we'll see how this goes. Hopefully everything will show up on stream. Okay.
Oh wait, do you want to introduce this first clip? Like, what are we gonna?
Yeah, sure, see? I can do that. Like, so the very first thing I'm gonna pull up is just a photo of materials. And just to talk over really quick what would be needed for that. And I think Social Team included that as well on their post. I haven't actually gone on any social media recently to look, but I believe that they did. So what we've got, I don't have the written list in front of me, but you can see that I have and is this showing up okay on the stream?
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, it looks good.
Cool. Yeah. I have it over my Streamlabs right now. So you've got the mold in the middle, and you can kind of see that I put little colored dots on the back of the mold to tell me which set went with which, that I was keeping them, because for some reason whoever made the mold separated all of them and just randomized them, so they're not actually
that's not helpful.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't. So I'll go over everything like that you see. There's the measuring cups here that are for actually measuring the exact amounts of the resin and hardener that you're putting in. And those are the ones with the actual little is my mouse cursor showing up there?
Yeah, it is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Then I can just point and you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that has a milliliters measurement, and I pour them into these plastic cups. Now, I recommend against a lot of plastic waste when possible, and you can get silicone cups and measuring tools and stuff that are reusable, and I do have some of those, but they were not clean when I was making this video, and I know that not everyone has them, so I figured for this one I would just show with the plastic tools. But I encourage, especially as environmentalism month comes up on us, encourage people to reduce their plastic waste where possible. And
the silicone ones still have the milliliter marks.
Yeah, they do sell some that are specifically have the measurements on them.
Oh,
which is really helpful. Yeah. So you pour those into these. This is the resin over here. It's the one I have is art resin. There's a few different varieties that you can get. I have gloves. I have alcohol wipes for cleaning up resin mess and getting extra resin off of things. Toothpicks. I have a mold release spray right here, which is basically just you spray it in your mold first, and that will help the resin pop out. of the mold easier.
Okay. Would you use that if you had, or is there a silicone version of the molds as well?
Yeah, so the mold is actually a silicone mold. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and
Cool.
usually they are. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they come in a couple different varieties, but that's most of what I've had is like silicone. There are like some plasticky ones, but these are the ones that are easiest to work with.
Yeah, I imagine it's easier to get the resin stones out.
Oh
Or
yeah.
the resin pieces out once they're hardened with the silicone because it's much more flexible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see, what else have I got? So I have little popsicle sticks for stirring. You can do whatever you want in terms of colorants, but there are some that are better than others. Alcohol inks, which are these pinata little things right here, are really good for like a translucent color. And mica powders, which are what I have way too many of in the back, are shimmery and really pretty, but they're a solid color. So it just depends on what you want. And what I did for this one that you're about to see is I used the some shimmery mica powder with the alcohol inks to get the cool semi-translucent shimmery effect.
Yeah, I really like that effect.
Yay!
It's so pretty.
Yay! And like you can add so many things. Like I did what I feel like is a fairly basic version, but you can add glitter, you can add inclusions like refractive little pieces that make it shimmer and sparkle even more, which are amazing. I just wanted to keep it in simple so that when I made my videos, they wouldn't go horribly wrong, because things can sometimes go horribly wrong when you add a lot of extra stuff. So I think that's pretty much it. The heat gun or some kind of like hair dryer on like a low setting for getting rid of bubbles.
Okay. Do you need like a diffuser or anything with the hair dryer, or just like the straight?
I think a diffuser, if you have a hair dryer, I would use like a diffuser for sure and hold it farther away, because of course the resin could just splash out, or you could start overheating it and burn it a little. So yeah, the little craft heat guns are better if you plan to do it long term, but if it's like a one-time use, then like a diffuser on a hair dryer would be perfect.
Okay, awesome.
So yeah, my next clip. Now the trick is remembering what my first clip is. Oh yeah, I guess a couple like tips to get started. Well, the one tip, and then I'll go to the next clip. Is the resin and hardener you can warm up in advance, and by putting it in some warm water in like the sink. Or a bowl or something, and just let it sit for a little bit before you start, because that makes it way easier to work with, and reduces bubbles that you get. So that can really
that's kind of how you like melt honey once it's crystallized.
True. Yeah, it is like that. They're actually not that different really in composition, I think, like honey and resin. Yeah.
Well, don't eat resin.
No, they're definitely different in that way. Consistency wise similar. Yeah. So yeah, like my first clip, I just kind of like, I started by just kind of spraying the mold release spray. I was just kind of showing that off, and you just kind of spray it in. I'm gonna skip through as I go and I talk. You just kind of spray it in. Oh, I forgot why I have this here. I have this coaster mold here because I want to have something to catch extra resin, to pour extra resin into. I like to make more resin than I might need, and then any extra I can turn into a pretty little coaster, or the beginnings of a coaster.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Less waste.
Little things you learn when you've made the mistake of not making enough resin a couple of times. Yeah. Like, I'd rather have extra and put it in a coaster mold. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, like, how long you've been like making resin crafts.
Oh, a couple years. I think a couple of years. Yeah.
How did you get started? Like what drew you to wanting to learn?
One of my friends
what
suggested
resonated with you?
Oh, that was good. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. I thought about it earlier and I wrote it down and I was like, I have to use this. So.
That was very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, my friend had suggested it as, I don't remember if I was looking at resin specifically, or if I had just said I was interested in getting a new thing. She's like, have you seen these cool alcohol ink coasters that you can make, where you do these like petri dish coasters? And I was like, that's amazing. And I got really excited about petri dish coasters. So I got the materials and resin to make the petri dish coasters, and then just really got into doing resin stuff. So yeah, so I've been doing it for a while, and I've learned some hard lessons, and sometimes unlearned and had to relearn them again. Let me see. So you may have to forgive me. I may have to start a clip before I know what the heck I was even going to do in the next clip.
All good. Okay, so we've sprayed the molds.
Yeah. And you want to let that sit for a little bit. Because to let it dry a little bit. Probably at the same time that your resin is warming up in the sink, if you're doing it in that order.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. It takes a second for it to load, so it'll pop up in a second. But
okay.
The next one is just like the pouring and the stirring stages of this. I picked up the resin containers at the beginning there so you could kind of see the consistency of the resin, because like when it's not warm, then it won't flow that easily like it just did, and it'll just sort of go back and forth like honey. So it helps to warm it up.
Yeah, you can definitely see the difference in viscosity.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna skip it forward just a little bit for.
Oh, and I was just gonna say, and Gazzy, she was spraying it with a mold release spray. That was it, right?
Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mold release spray. Yeah. I don't remember what that brand is. It's probably I'll say later. I don't remember. I think just looking at mold release spray probably will dig it up. So I measured out, I think it was 75 milliliters of each, the resiner and hardener, which those cups I have there are actually 50. So I think I poured like half and half. I might be wrong about how much I did total, but I basically filled the cup a couple of times and then poured that little cup into the larger cup. So let me kind of skip forward a little bit on that. I skipped to I poured it in. This part isn't that interesting because it's just pouring resin into a container. So let me just kind of skip forward a little bit.
And then the larger cup that you're pouring it into, is that just like a regular plastic cup?
Yeah.
Does it have any? Okay.
It's just a plastic solo cup, clear plastic solo cup. A clear is recommended so you can actually like see the volume in there and see how it looks as you're stirring it.
Good tip.
Yeah, it's very helpful. Very helpful. And so you pour the hardener and the resin into 2 separate big cups to start. Because you measure it out, and then so you can basically start stirring as soon as you pour one into the other. And so you pour the equal amounts in the 2 different cups, and then you take the hardener cup, the cup with the hardener. Oh, you can see I just skipped to a part where I sort of like drop the cup with it in it a little bit. No, I mean it's actually kind of an intentional process, so you just have to be careful that you don't spill it, because you kind of do that to knock out a couple bubbles as you go.
Oh, smart.
Yeah. Okay. So let me see.
It's kind of like why you bang the tray when you make macarons, just to like eliminate the bubbles.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like that. It sounds exactly like that, though. It's exactly like that. Trying to remember. So I poured the hardener in, and then I begin like the stirring process. And I'm actually going to, I think, skip to the next one to show part of that, partly because Jake really wanted me to show this part because of how it looks from the side when you pour the 2 into each other, because it's almost like a visual ASMR, because it's like you're just like, ooh, like you get this cool effect as it like swirls in. Yeah. That's just for fun.
Yeah. No, that was a very good clip to show. That was very fun. Excellent camera work, by the way. Was that Jake?
Yeah, he's my camera guy. Yeah. He's very helpful. So when you're stirring it, you pour that hardener in, and then you start stirring it slowly and carefully for 3 minutes, like just at a steady pace. And you want to not be creating a lot of bubbles, and you want to scrape the sides as you go, and then scrape the sides and the bottom. because I was
So
trying
kind of
to, oh, go ahead.
gently.
Yeah,
Oh, just like a
yeah.
gentle stir. Okay, okay.
Yeah, exactly, because you don't want to introduce a lot of air into it as you
Mm.
go. And because I was holding it, trying to show it to the camera at the same time as stirring, I had no idea how to move my hands for a while. So I eventually like remembered how I did things, and I rotate the cup as I stir, which
Oh.
kind of helps. Like I rotate it like counterclockwise from the direction or against the direction that I'm stirring, so that I can kind of get all the material off the sides.
Oh, that's also very nifty.
Yeah. And so when the first 3 minutes is up, you get that second cup, and you pour it from the first cup into the second cup because you're trying to only get the stuff that's integrated, so you don't have any of the stuff from the sides in your. This is like, you don't have to go through all this process, I guess, but it really helps with reducing soft resin. It helps make sure the resin's very, because the hardener and resin being equal is like incredibly important to getting like hard resin at the end. Because if they're even a little out of proportion with each other, then it'll be a little soft, or it might be a little sticky.
Oh.
So that can
So
be
it's pretty narrow, or not a whole lot of room for error, it sounds like.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there is, when you're like, I should preface this with, I'm a perfectionist and I've been doing this a long time, and I also like am, working on making some resin things to like sell online, and so like process is really important. But I think if you're just doing it for fun, like you don't want to
Oh,
necessarily
yeah.
make it like really stressful and try to do everything exactly right. So I think it depends on where somebody's at. Like if they're just starting, they should just have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. So yeah, so you get that all stirred up. And I think that's pretty much all to that clip.
It kind of
And
reminds me of frosting a cake too, on a turntable, where you're spinning the turntable at the same time as trying to like frost the edges in the different direction. So it's like all
yeah.
even. Yeah.
Yeah, I was never good at that with actual cakes. I've tried that and I
Oh,
just
me too. I'm
mess up.
terrible. Yeah. There's frosting is everywhere. Nothing is ever even for me when I try these. Yeah.
Right. I'm too impatient too, because I'll always try to frost it before it's like ready, and I get crumbs all
Oh,
in
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And or then the frosting will like melt off because the cake is too hot. I'm like, oh, I just wanted cake. Anyway.
No, I totally feel that. So this is the fun shimmer time.
Ooh, yay! Yay! Okay.
I don't know if this angle is very good, but you'll be able to see a little bit of it. Like I just took the mica powder and I just get a toothpick. And honestly, this is not a measured amount. This is like, I just knocked some in. What I have here, this first one that I do is a micro pearl. And that creates sort of
What
like
is that?
So that's a very, I mean, it is kind of what it sounds like. It's just that it's a
Oh,
very,
just
very
like
fine pearly powder. And that
okay,
creates sort of the swirly, like overall shimmery effect. And then I also, the second one I have is like a macro pearl. And that is like larger glittery pieces. Still not huge glitter, but yeah, it's just, I used both because it kind of adds a little extra dimension to it. So kind of, unfortunately my hand did block on this angle. I do have another clip that I'll go to in a second that doesn't have it. You can see like the first shot, you can see it gets, I would not be surprised if people in the chat laugh at what this substance looks like at this point in the process. It gets a little weird looking. But yeah, I add the macro pearl at that part, and then I stirred that in, and you can't really tell, but it's like it's a larger grain than the other one that I added. So when I zoom in a little bit, you can see sort of the shimmery effect starting to happen in the cup. I know it's a little bit of a delay, but
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the shimmery effect.
Yeah, it's hard from a distance. Oh, and then I think I needed to skip to the next one because that's where you can see it from like the side. And you can see it like a little bit, but you really can mostly see it when Jake moves the camera up above, and you can kind of look down at it from above. And I'm trying to get to the part where that is. Hang on.
And when you're stirring it, you still want to do it a little bit slowly, so you're not introducing a lot of air still, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, I thought it went up at some point. Maybe it's in the next clip. Let me see. Oh yeah, I think it is. I think I went to the next clip and then 1 second. Like I was telling you off stream, but I'll say it again for chat purposes, is that I did have convenient little bookmarks that I had set up in VLC Media that would have gone to the exact timestamps I wanted, but unfortunately VLC just forgot them. So okay, so from this angle you can kind of see the little sparkly bits a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you can start to see the shimmer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful.
Like a big fun part of it is just working with the fine powders and the shimmery substances, and I just enjoy that part a lot.
Yeah, I can see why. It's so fun. It's so pretty.
Yay.
So pretty already.
So I poured, at that point I took the shimmery, resin and poured it into 3 different ones, since I'm doing the 3 colors.
Okay.
And that way I can add the colorant to each of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of skip through that because, pouring things in containers is only so exciting.
And okay, you were doing this by volume. Like, could we also do it by weight?
So it tends to be better to measure by volume, from what I understand. Okay. But I think you could, but I think that they want to be pretty roughly equal in volume.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
That tends to be the measurement used.
Okay.
So separated that into the 3 different containers, and at this point I had extra in the cup, and that is, by design, like I said. That way, just in case, you never know.
Poster time.
Yeah. So this is the part where I added colorant, and I'm just going to show the first one. And I added a few drops of the coral alcohol ink, and I started with a small amount because I kind of wanted to get a sense of how it would color it. I didn't know what effect it would have. This was this is an interesting process because the coral, this was fine, and I did a few drops, and then I'll skip ahead a little bit, and it was pretty, and I added a few more to make it a little bit darker. But then I went to do the next color, which is supposed to be Rainforest Green, and Rainforest Green, I don't have this in my playlist because what basically happened now was frantic scrambling because I tried to do Rainforest Green, and for some reason when it mixed with the pearl, it just turned blue. It wasn't green. I don't know why. So what happened in a clip that you won't see here is me adding a bunch of green, it continuing to be blue, then adding yellow to try and get it to be green, which made this whole process very hectic because then the resin started thickening up because it was taking too long.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no.
It's all good.
Goodness.
It all ended up fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the color you ended up with that you showed at the very beginning, that was a very pretty green.
That's good. I somehow managed to get there eventually, but you would be shocked at the amount of original green color I put in and how much yellow I had to put in to get the green to be green. I don't know why.
Oh my god. And then does the color that you see now is the color that it ends up being? Like, it doesn't when it hardens, it doesn't kind of change shade or anything? Like, it doesn't get a little bit darker or a little bit lighter or anything?
Usually it's pretty close to the initial color. Okay. Like, I feel like there can be a little bit of variation. I do feel like with the green, when I'll pour it, I think you'll see it in a minute. When I'm pouring it, I feel like the green that I'm pouring looks bluer than the green I ended up with. So I'm actually very glad about that change.
Yeah,
because I wanted it to be green. So I think sometimes the color changes a little bit as it dries, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. One time, my only I guess food coloring story or coloring story. related to getting a color that I wasn't expecting was I was trying to make a strawberry rhubarb cake, and it was supposed to be pink. And the batter was white, and like you're supposed to add, a little bit of the red food coloring to make it pink. And what had happened was I had accidentally grabbed, I think it was yellow food coloring, but they were very similarly colored bottles, which was not helpful.
Of
And
course,
I
yeah.
kept adding it, and for some reason it still looked um slightly reddish, or it had like some sort of hue that I was like, oh, it's supposed to be. Um, it'll end up being pink if I keep adding them, and then eventually discovered that I was adding the wrong color, and
Oh
I
no.
never got a pink cake.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh, what
but
did you have a wait? What color cake did you end
it
up with?
it ended up being like this weird like hybrid yellow orange.
Okay.
Um, it was
Sunset colored
Yeah,
cake.
it was not a very appealing color, but then I frosted it and I covered it all up and I was like, just don't look at like the color of the cake; it still tastes fine.
Totally.
So so I mean, happy accidents.
Yeah. You brand it differently, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
sunset or like,
yeah, yeah.
Savannah. I don't know. I'm sure there's a
Mhm,
word.
mhm.
Let's see what's up next. Okay, so yeah, I kind of skipped over the mixing of the other colors, just because of the first of all, I had some skippy footage, and second because of the frantic the frantic stages of
Oh,
the
yeah.
trying to make the green. So at this point, like with the pouring, like I said, I pre-marked which ones I wanted the coral color to go in.
Mhm.
So I'm just going from each one to the next one, and I wasn't at first pouring them completely full, because at first I wasn't sure how far it would go. I wasn't sure if I had the
Oh,
correct
yeah.
percentage or not. But as I went, once I finished the coral, I ended up with pretty much just the right amount, and so I was like, okay, so I went a little bit faster and wilder with the with the other colors when I got into those, which I guess must happen in the next clip.
Mm.
I'm sorry about it. It's a bit skippy here, and I'm not sure why. On the green and the blue, they ended up like the footage got a little jumpy, and I'm not sure what happened with that.
I mean, I really like that green.
Yeah.
I think it still turned out very well.
Yay. Yeah, but you can kind of see it. Maybe it'll be clear when I go into one of these molds here. Like, I do feel like it had a bluish, a slightly more bluish tint than the. Oh, this is where I spilled some. Everybody gets to see I spilled a little resin on the container, so that's why you have paper towels on hand, also.
Oh, good tip. And that's why you have gloves too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Resin will get on everything everywhere.
And then is that just like butcher paper that you put down on the
Oh,
table?
yeah, I forgot to mention the paper. Yeah, it's parchment paper. Yeah,
Oh,
taped
parchment
taped some
paper. Okay.
parchment paper down on the table. We need to get a flat kitchen table. We have this like kitchen table we got from a thrift store because we needed one at our old place, and we needed a small one, and like, but it has like tiles, and it's not a very flat table, and for this kind of work you really should have like a flat surface and not a bumpy surface.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but yeah, the parchment paper helps you from covering the table, which this table already is covered, but in resin and paints and things. But it is good practice to protect your surfaces. Let's see. Yeah, so then I was just finishing pouring all those. I'm not sure if I showed pouring the blue because the footage was so skippy. Or maybe I did. Okay, yeah. But pouring looks like pouring no matter what color it is. It's kind of fun to watch just because it's pretty, but
Yeah, I like that blue too.
yeah, I was really enchanted with the blue and the coral a lot. Like, I liked the green, but I resented it slightly because of not being what I expected. I thought it was going to be a lighter green like the blue and the coral when I started. But I think, let's see, what did I go to from this? I think I showed like the you can kind of see what they all look like when they're wet. still, and when they're finished. And then I showed, it must be in the next one. It's a little jumpy in this footage, so I'm sorry. Then this stage I wanted to show because you can look in the side, from the side view, you can see in this mold, and this will happen in a lot of like molds with corners or any kind of edges or anything. You can see little air bubbles that happen.
Oh,
And I learned this the hard way, because like if you don't fix those, and I'll try to hold up a thing and maybe you can see it on my camera, but if you don't fix them, you'll get little holes on the very corners of the piece. So when I started doing future ones, I take a little blunted toothpick and I stick it into those corners in the mold while it's still wet, still workable, and I just kind of move the bubble around or get rid of the bubble.
Oh, okay.
And so I went through and did that in all the corners of all the little molds, which is a little time consuming, and around the runes themselves, because the runes can also get air bubbles. So that part's a little bit like, time consuming. But it is an important part if you don't want to have the air bubbles. But I also show, we'll see if we have time for that, but I also show how to like fix that if that happens. And then the next one is actually the demolding video. So it takes about like, you can usually like 24 hours is it went to I forgot a step. I'm sorry. Just kidding. You don't get to see the demolding process yet. So the step after I went through that is the heat gun, for getting all these bubbles that you can see on the surface. That's what all this like kind of white foamy stuff is on the top, is the bubbles. And so find where I did it. Somewhere. Yeah. So you just like very quickly run the heat gun over the surface, and you can kind of watch the bubbles just sort of pop away. I might have to skip back a little bit for you to really see it like do the cool thing.
Then probably are you wearing a mask or anything?
Yes.
While you're...
I forgot that one in the ingredients, the materials list. Thank you for noticing, Jannae. You passed the test.
Yeah, okay. I saw something around your neck and I was like, it's either very brightly colored headphones or it's like a mask.
Yes, I forgot like a very crucial important thing is that you should have a ventilator or a respirator if you're going to work with this on a regular basis. You can just have good ventilation, but if you're going to work in a closed space with it, the resin fumes can be toxic and they can be not so good for you. Mm-hmm. So especially when they're heated up, like what I'm doing right here with the heat gun. Mm-hmm.
So you should wear it like the entire time and not just with the when using the heat gun.
Yeah. Okay. Or what can work, and honestly I'll tell you the truth, like a lot of people who work with it, like you'll go on YouTube and see people work with it. A lot of people just do ventilation. They have like a window open and a fan blowing, or they're working outside or in a garage or something. Okay. I just go the extra step to, in this case, just to, demonstrate good safety habits.
Yes.
So the respirator is really important, or really good ventilation. So I'm trying to remember if there was more in this clip. I don't think there is. I think at that point we can pretty much... Oh yeah, I poured the extra into the coaster. And at this point it had already thickened quite a bit. But I just sort of drizzled it in, and I drizzled in what I had left of just the shimmery and kind of spread that out. Then I drizzled in what I had left of the colored resins. And after I did that, I sort of just used like a toothpick to sort of swirl it in little patterns and kind of make it look a little bit more intentional. I didn't have much of the coral left, so it basically was just like the green and the blue and the shimmery that got swirled together. But it's a good way to use up all your resin and make some extra fun things.
Yeah, and protect your surfaces again.
Yeah.
A different way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then we go to a demolding video, which is out of order, it looks like. So I might have to, oh no, it is in order. Okay. So this is like when they're 24 hours later. If you really want to be sure, like 48 hours later is really good. Usually
And it's
24
just
is good
at
enough.
room temperature, right? You don't have to put them in the fridge or anything.
Yeah,
special.
yeah. I just left them out on the table. Like you might want to do something to cover them if you think there might be like pets, or if there might be like dust that's gonna blow onto them, or anything like that. But yeah, you can just leave them out, and that's what I do right now.
What would you cover them with, like saran wrap?
You could, I guess it depends on what you're protecting it from. I mean, it would be enough to just lay some parchment paper over it. If you're just worried about like dust, you could just put like a parchment paper. If you're worried about like a cat, of course you should do something like more secure and probably put it up away from the cat, cover it with like a something that the cat can't move, like a box or a pan or something. But we don't currently have a pet. That might change soon, but we don't currently have a pet, so I didn't have to worry about that in this case.
Okay. Yeah. But good tip for pet parents.
Yeah, you definitely do not want your pet getting into that, for their own sake and for the resin's sake. So
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you can kind of see like it's hardened, and I think I like tap on it to show like it's hard. Yeah. It's not sticky. You can run your finger over and it's slidey.
Very, very shiny.
Yes. So satisfying at this part where you can actually see all the cool shimmer, and it's just like, yay. So yeah, when you push them out of the mold, you kind of push from the bottom up, and because it's a flexible mold, it kind of, it took me a second to get it in camera focus, but
oh yeah, so shiny, and it just kind of pops right out.
Yeah, so, and I was so relieved at this point when I was like, yay, there aren't any of those air bubbles on the corner. I did find a couple pieces that did, but I was happy that it didn't have a bunch of air bubbles and holes all over it. So so then I just kind of went through the process of like popping out some of the other pieces and showing off how shimmery they are.
Yeah, they're so pretty. The blue really reminds me of like a magical lagoon water.
And the green. And you can do so much. Like you can make like a galaxy if you do some of the shimmery, but not as much as I used. Then you can do like a shimmery swirls in there. You can do clear, like just clear with alcohol ink and a different like pour in a little bit of a shimmery, and then get little galaxy swirls with some glitter for like stars and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll skip through that a little bit more and just kind of show a couple more of the pieces that came out. Oh, there were some blank ones in there. In this set, there's a couple blank tiles that are included. Oh, and then yeah, this is like how the coaster turned out. Like honestly, this is not a full coaster. Normally I would have poured another layer of colorful resin on the bottom, but since I wanted to kind of show the end result, I just popped this one out. And it's not ideal because normally like you wouldn't have as many bubbles, but it was so thick by the time I got to the coaster that yeah. So in order to redeem myself, I also showed I think at the end of this video I showed a couple of other coasters I had around that were a little bit more solid. And let me see if I can, where are they?
Oh, Gazzy wants to know if you've ever done resin rings.
Once, yeah, we had a resin, we made our own mold of one of Jake's rings, and we did like a resin ring, and it was pretty, that was pretty cool, and I would love to do that again. We just don't have like casting mold right now, I think, but yeah, those are really, really cool to make. Yeah.
Yeah. Very unique for sure.
Yeah. So this is like an older one that I had done. This is like a kind of a purple sparkly. It's been used a bit, so.
That one reminds me of a galaxy.
I liked that one. That one was a little bit more like what you would normally have as an end result. I had thought about with this one that I made for this stream, like putting like a second layer of resin with like moss and things in it, but I just ran out of time.
What?
Yeah, you can do like the inclusions and it
Oh,
can look really cool.
I I know you mentioned like other inclusions, but I had never thought about moss being one.
Yeah, like okay, so
Ah,
disclaimer on that, like I really like working with that and I think it's amazing, but then I listened to the author of Braiding Sweetgrass also is like she talks about moss a lot, and honestly it's not really a great practice to gather and collect moss for the purposes of these kinds of crafts usually. So I'm
oh,
torn now ethically. I already
oh,
have some, so I'm probably going to use the bag I have, but I would say if people do it, they should look to see if they can find sources that have been harvested ethically. Just because that's still a living thing that you just got to keep that in mind if you're gathering moss for this kind of thing.
oh, okay. Oh, that's a good like hint that of our next book club book.
That's true.
Very subtle plug. Next book club next month.
Braiding Sweetgrass.
Braiding
I'm
Sweetgrass.
not sure if she
Yeah.
talks about moss in that one, but she is like that is one of her her specialties is moss, and I think she has another book that's called Gathering Moss that I have not read.
Oh, okay.
Let me see how we doing. We got a little bit more time, so I'll show the
Mhm.
final clip, which is just the sanding process. So if you have a piece
Oh.
that does have, I'm trying to pause it in exactly the spot where it's showing that little bubble in the corner. If you have a piece that ends up with those little bubbles, holes in the corner, like I guess I just didn't get to this piece or missed it in the process and forgot to hit it with the toothpick, you can still fix it.
Mhm.
And what I have here is like 220 grit sandpaper. You can go, like, if you want to be really extra about it, you can like do multiple stages of sandpaper. But for this purpose, we have one type of sandpaper.
Yeah.
And you pour a little bit of water on it. And that is to make everything go smoothly. And you just kind of you put down the part that has the hole or the bump or whatever, and you just can do little figure eights on the sandpaper.
Oh, okay.
And it'll sort of wear that down a little bit. And you can also use this to deal with the back, because you'll see like right here you can see it's concave kind of because the resin sort of sinks in a little. So you can do the same thing to flatten the back of the piece to make it perfectly flat. So at the end, I think I show at the end of this little clip here, I think I went over the corner again a little bit more, and then I just kind of showed what both sides looked like at the end. See if I can find where it is. There it is. So I have more rounded edges, but the holes are gone, and the back is flat, and so it's just a nicer, polished piece. So yeah.
Pretty.
And these pieces just look kind of cool with water on them too.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
The water makes the sparkle come out.
Yeah, it gives it a nice little effect.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, let me see. We'll go back to the playlist and I can put the final runes back on there. Like I said, hard to see in this particular case because it's a zoomed out photo and they're not painted in, but you can, kind of see in certain ones you can see the runes.
Yeah, okay. And then what would you use to paint in the runes? Or like what type of paint? Just like an acrylic?
That is what I am using. I have used acrylic. I used acrylic glow-in-the-dark paint for the other ones that I have painted in. To be honest, it's a process I am refining. Because the first time I tried to paint it, in very carefully, like with a small brush and like carefully paint in the lines. And a lot of times I just sort of moved the paint around and was very frustrating. So then I actually did like a wash of paint over the top of it and then just wipe off the extra. So, you basically just like slap it on there and then just like wipe off the extra that's on there. And like that kind of just fills in the gaps, which I found to be a little easier. I think there must be a better way than the way I'm doing it because it does take too much time.
Yeah, I was like, would a toothpick work? That also seems very slow.
I tried that a little bit because I thought so. I was like, oh yeah, toothpick's perfect size for that. But the toothpick also sort of just pushes the paint around, but it might have been the acrylic glow in the dark paint consistency might have been not as good as like a regular acrylic paint. So yeah, I don't know if anybody else knows. I hope they'll let us know on social media or something if they watch
Wait.
this.
Oh, Gaze says that she uses powder pigment from candles, then she paints the tarot pictures with a detail brush. I
Okay,
don't know
so
what
with
powder pigment is from
yeah,
candles.
that's definitely like powder pigment is just like another colorant you can use in the resin. And I haven't worked with that one for resin specifically. I've used it I think in candles, but
Oh,
but yeah, the detail
oh,
brush, like that does make me wonder if the glow in the dark paint was particularly hard to work with. If Gazzy, if you're using just acrylic paint or for the painting of the tarot pictures, or maybe see if she used a different kind of paint than me, or
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, Gazzy, what kind of paint did you use? Oh, she says she uses the powder.
oh, the powder to paint
Oh,
on the top. Oh, might have to try that. I
oh,
guess I have not tried working with the powder to paint on
oh.
it.
She doesn't have to paint it. She paints the mold.
Yeah, that is the thing you can do. That's true. Yeah, you can paint the mold, and I have heard about that being done, and I didn't try it with this. That's a good idea though. That's a good way to go. Is like paint into the mold. I just Is that
Oh,
something you just paint in the mold, and because it's a powder pigment, I guess she can't answer us very quickly, but
yeah.
we got the delay on the chat. But I guess because it's a powder and not a paint, then you would it would come right off and you could do it again and again. And whereas like obviously if you painted the mold with paint, it would probably stick to the mold more, but
Yeah, oh, yeah.
powder would be different, I imagine.
Yeah, she does say cleaning sucks,
It
but it makes the
does.
pictures pop.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah, the cleaning part is difficult. And oh, I don't think I mentioned that, is like when you're actually trying to like clean the pieces themselves, like don't use alcohol on that, because the alcohol does break down resin. Like it's great for cleaning up resin messes, great for getting it off your hands, great for like
Hmm.
cleaning it out of like the things. Don't use it to clean the pieces themselves, because it will like degrade the surface and make it
Oh,
funky.
good
So
tip.
yeah, just like regular. You can polish. You can use polish if you want to make them really shiny, and for just regular washing, you can totally just use like soap and water, gentle soap and water for keeping them
Oh,
clean.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And you said for like cleaning the materials, you would just use like alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and then soap and
Yeah.
water.
So for like cleaning out the molds, for example, or like if you have a silicone cup that you're reusing, yeah, you can use the alcohol wipes or rubbing alcohol in like paper towels, and that helps break up the resin and get it off of there. But then I do find that you still probably want to do like a soap and water wash.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can just peel off the resin once it dries too. Like if there's particularly hard parts to get off, you can just peel it up. But yeah, like that's probably the way to do it.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Like most of what that was about was more of just about the resin process and tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, and less about runestones themselves. But you know, it's a shimmery, shiny, magical object that goes well with our fantasy Fae month.
Yes. Yes. And we all know that fantasy means sparkles.
It's been established in the
Yes.
GeekGirlCon lore. It'll go in the wiki about what fantasy means.
Yeah. Wait, was there another clip that you wanted to show if we had time? Now I remember you mentioned it, and now I don't remember what it was.
Oh, you know what? I think it was the sanding clip, because I wasn't
Oh,
sure if
okay.
we were going to get to the sanding clip or not, because I didn't know, how we would do on
Okay.
time. Turned out it worked out
Okay.
pretty perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yay. Well, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I
Thanks for
do want
letting
to
me
try
nerd
this
out
out.
at you for a
Yeah.
while. This is great.
Have you ever like tried making, do you do anything else with these stones but like once they're complete, or do you just kind of like leave them as is? Do you like make them into charms, or like on a necklace
Yeah.
or anything?
I've experimented a little bit with putting them on jewelry. The jewelry I made, like I'm relatively new to making the runestones, so what I would say with like doing the jewelry, I would make a half the size if you want to make like earrings or a pendant or something. I wouldn't fill those molds as big because they're so chunky. Because you can kind of see like size wise, like they're pretty big, and when that's like on your ear, that's quite a lot of weight. Or and necklace size maybe not so bad, but certainly for hanging it on an earring, like I would say like half that size.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, you don't really want that much weight on your ears.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've made that. Like, so far what I've mostly do is just like make them into like little sets, and I put the different, like the 8s that I mentioned into individual little like sparkly sachet bags, just to kind of dress them up a little. It's like a little moon and stars baggie. But yeah, you can make them into lots of things, I think. Like, it just kind of depends on the limits of your imagination.
Yeah. No, there's no limits.
Exactly.
In imagination. So
unlimited.
You can do anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, like and like I said, like you can put in all kinds of, like, the more you get into the resin crafts and arts, like the more wild you can get with the stuff. Like, I honestly, like, these were so much easier than what I was trying to do before, which is I had sphere molds, and so like with sphere molds, you really can't, the ones I had, you can't really see what's going on in there. So I was like pouring things in. I was trying to, I was very carefully positioning. I don't have it on hand, but like I made like a little sphere with like a mushroom and moss, and like I made a little scene, almost like a little terrarium of its own. And they look cool, but they take a lot of work, and they can be very easy to mess up. So by comparison, like this kind of thing is a little bit less stressful, I think.
Yeah. Do you have like 2-part molds at all? Or you said because like the sphere one was like one.
The one I had was
one, right?
Yeah. Like you can get 2-part molds for like spheres. I had gotten the whole one because I'd watched some tutorials of people working with the halves, and sometimes you can see that little seam in the middle when you put the 2 halves together. And so I was like trying to save myself time and trying to make it look smooth by having the one sphere mold, but it makes it a black box that you don't really know what you're going to get until you're done with it.
Yeah.
So. Yep. So, so that's that, I guess. And I guess at this point we can try to figure out who's online.
Oh, yeah. If anyone is online.
Yeah. See if we got somebody we can raid. Not invading. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, kind of.
But in a really friendly way.
Yes.
Let's see. I gotta get my dashboard up and we've got looks like, okay, I'm just curious what that is. So we've got a few different options. But Simile is playing something called Capybara Spa. And
that sounds amazing.
I'm pretty tempted to invade their stream right now and see what they're up to.
Let's do it.
Yay!
I'm very curious about that.
Me too. I'm so curious.
Everyone, thank you for joining us for our month of fantasy Geek Girl Creates with Resin Runestones with Christina, and then tune in on Thursday when we're playing Wild at Heart with Jen. Yay!
Heck yeah!
Yay!
It's gonna be fun. All right,
Thanks
here we
for joining, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
Say hi to Simile. Check out what Capybara is.